Welcome back to the Breakfast in Plus TV Africa. We head straight to our first major conversation where we look at the indictment of Abba. And other police officers. A report says suspended head of intelligence response team and Deputy Police Commissioner Abba has been arrested by the Nigerian police. According to a report, Kyari was arrested hours after the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency declared him wanted over alleged drug links. The suspended DCP, who is also under investigation by the Federal Bureau of Investigation of the United States of America, indicted him in the case of fraud involving Instagram celebrity popularly known as Hush Puppy. A senior police officer at the force headquarters told correspondent and reports that Kyari was handcuffed and arrested like any other suspect. Now, this morning, we take a look at the legal implication of this as regards all of this, and the fact that you have the law of extradition. Now, the fact you have the United States wanting him on that particular list, you also have the government here in Nigeria, the police also arresting him, and the involvement in drugs. What does this really mean for him, and what do we look out for? Joining the conversation is a former DSS director, Dennis Omakari. It's good to have you join us this morning.
Good morning.
So let's share your thoughts on this particular issue. First, I'd like to get your reaction, an overall reaction. What do you make of this? I mean, a lot of people say that they do respect the person of Abba. He's a super cop. I mean, he's done a lot if you look at his track record. And with this, are you surprised? Are you shocked at this development?
Well, it's a shock to me because I personally know Abba. I think I will call him my friend. I've met him in a couple of fora where we shared awards together. And I was totally shocked when I heard that, number one, he was into kidnapping with Hush Puppy and all those kind of stuff. Then a bigger shock came in when I heard about this drug thing. So it's really sad because I am looking beyond Abba himself, because which kind of situation where we are having criminals who are going to be enforcing our laws in Nigeria, which that's a major issue right now, and I think everybody should look at that.
Interesting, Mr. Dennis Omakari. What do you make of the police's response to this? It's now become almost like a back and forth between the two state security organizations, the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency and the Nigeria Police Force, because the NDLEA said they had written letters of invitation as it is due process to or as it is a process to Abba, inviting him for questioning, and he had refused to submit himself to them. Now they had to address this press conference, telling the whole world, to the shock of even the journalists in the studio. Some were heard exclaiming Jesus when they heard Abba name. So you're not the only one who was shocked. The police now responded by saying, "Oh, we know about the situation. We've been monitoring it. In fact, we have a report on Abba already. But we've also been monitoring the situation around the Akanubiam International Airport, and we know that there are other NDLA officials who are also part of what's going on. So please, Buba Marwa, can you investigate them?" What do you make of the police's response to this?
I think the police was trying to cover their own man. It's a protocol in the services whereby you cannot arrest a soldier or a policeman or even a DSS officer, directly and take him to court or interrogate him. You have to apply to the service that he works for, and they will release him. Okay? And then, of course, they've done this earlier, asking the police to release him concerning this drug issue, but I think the police was trying to shuffle their leg until they have to go to the press and blow it out. And now the police does not have any other choice. From what I learned, he has been handed over to the NDLA now, So they will go through their processes. And then, of course, one missing link is that Abba Kyari has to be dismissed from the police before he can be taken to court. He has to be dismissed, because he cannot go there as a serving officer. And then if he's dismissed, they take him to court, and if he's indicted and prosecuted, I think the FBI in the United States is actually waiting for him right now to make sure that the Nigerian security agencies get their stuff together and then bring him over to complete an investigation that they are carried out in the United States now.
So, but with all of this now, what does this really say about the Nigerian, police force, especially at a time where he celebrated? And you have also, attested to the fact that you both have been in the forum where there's several awards and all of that. What is the image for the Nigerian police force right now?
The Nigerian police force had a trust deficit with the Nigerian public. And then, of course, many people don't trust the police. I know that the new IG has been trying to fight to see that it bring up the image of the police very well. And with all these things happening, I don't think many Nigerians will be really surprised because they say, oh, now policemen, okay, yeah, that's how they are. But this particular cop is somebody that has been celebrated. And it is very, very shocking that with all those flying colors, there is rot underneath, and many people will really, really be worried about it. So it calls the question, what are we going to do about our police force? There is need for a very serious restructuring, both in the processes and in the structure itself. Are we going to get state police? Are we going to, retrain people? All those kind of things have to come to play now because with what is going on now, I don't believe that the police is even deeper in a very bad way. So I think they have to sit back and think about it seriously.
Just to get a sense of the state of affairs and the state of things with the Nigeria police force, firstly, we're not even talking about the entire system. You've talked about the current Inspector General of Police trying to reform the police and, to make sure that the police is set right. But what we've seen here is foot dragging. You've rightly said, Mr. Makri, that, the DSS or the NDLEA had approached or written, as it is the protocol in the security apparatus in the country, written and applied to the police for the release of this man. He wasn't released. That amounts to foot dragging. We look at the accusations and the sort of incontrovertible evidence out there of communication between the arrested fraudster, rather, hush puppy, and this police officer, and the court documents and the investigations and reports of the American FBI indicting this man, and we still see that he's still in the country, and he's still, although under suspension, still a policeman. So what is going on? I mean, why do we have such foot dragging? Is there sincerity coming from the top echelon? Let's start with the police first of all. Is there sincerity really to reform the police and to make sure that the rights wrongs are set right?
Well, change is a very, very difficult thing to take place in any organization or any country. So I know that the police authority would want to see their image improve. But when this guy was arrested, when the Americans indicted him, there is this protocol that need to be followed. Because the FBI asking for Abba Kyari cannot just get him like that. Just like I mentioned to you earlier, as long as he is a serving officer, he has to go through some kind of trial, internal trial. That trial will now decide whether he is guilty or not guilty. If he is guilty, what they will do is to dismiss him. That's the process. After the dismissal, then he will be taken to court. But I know it was just suspended. The case has been dragging because I know fully well that the police authorities might not want to send him to the United States just like that. Because I know from what we are getting right now, if this guy is put under serious interrogation, he's going to sing. And the singing might involve some people because the kind of confidence that he has in going out to do all these things does not just say that, and the free hand he was using. I don't think that he was just alone in doing this. There might be other people. Remember, when the first indictment started from the FBI, we didn't know about 4 other people that were part of it. Now, this second indictment from the NDLA has shown that there are other 4, so that's how more people are going to be involved, and we know more people are going to come out of it.
Okay, so it's sounding like you're saying that the reason for this, because that's a lot of thoughts that's been put out there. A lot of people are believing that the reason for all of this arrest and the indictment is just to prevent him from answering questions of, that he has to answer, the FBI, of course, in the United States, and his linkage or connection with Hush Puppy. But that's what it sounds like right now. So I'm hoping that you answer that. Because if you look at the crime here, drug is an international crime. And so if he's been linked as being a drug lord or, cartel, leading a cartel, talking about connection with Ethiopia and Nigeria, I'm sure that you already know what that is. So how can that be? Because if drug is an international crime, why will then the Nigerian police force or the government want to put him out there, in that light?
Well, one thing I can explain to you here is that no matter how foot dragging the Nigerian police will do, now that the FBI, he has come to the knowledge of the FBI, they will. It could take years, but they will interrogate him. It's part of their processes. They're not just going to forget him or sweep it under the carpet. They will interrogate him, no matter, except he dies. So that is there. Because like you said, it's an international crime, and being an international crime is something that they don't play around with, especially if it involves money laundering, drug trafficking, if it involves American citizens or it is taking place on American soil. The FBI will bite and until they get this root out of it. So I think we can drag all we want, but I think it's better for them to go ahead and follow the processes quickly and send him out. That will also help the image of Nigeria, because if we continue holding on to this, there might be sanctions that could follow, and that is something we don't want to go through.
We're glad to say we're joined now by Tunde Kolawole, legal practitioner, and Efe Wanago, a security expert. Gentlemen, thanks for joining in on the conversation.
Thank you. Good to be here.
All right.
Okay, so Tunde Kolawole, let's start with you because this is a legal issue now. What would you say is the legal implication for the indictment of Abba, especially when we understand the law, that had existed, the issue of extradition, which was inherited by, the fact that we are part of the British colony, British colony, yes. So how does this really play out and what does this mean?
Well, the matter is a very simple one, but also most unfortunate. You and I will remember that there is already an application for the extradition of the same party to the United States of America for aiding and abetting and being a participant in the course of wire money fraud that was committed by us. That has not been resolved. In the characteristic Nigerian manner, we have been rigmaroling, pushing the case up and down. with nobody ready to take responsibility. Now that this is coming, I suspect it might follow the same procedure. If it is going to be straightforward, what we require to be done is to take Abba Kyari to file an application in court that the Brazilian authorities require Mr. Abba Kyari to come and answer some charges with regards to drug courier, drug sales, and all kinds of issues that are usually related to drugs. And then Mr. Abba Kyari will also have the opportunity to file his defense in court. If the court is convinced, based on whatever evidence is presented to the court, that Mr. Abba Kyari is culpable, then the court will rule that Mr. Abba Kyari should be established to Brazil to answer to the court charges. And then, of course, the Attorney General and Minister of Internal Affairs will have a role to play in it. But when you look at our history, you will find out that Nigeria has hardly extradited any of the citizens in any of these countries who go and answer to whatever charge may have been filed against them. We've never had that history as such. Yes, people get extradited to our own country, but we hardly extradited to some other countries. And the only person I remember doing it was the late Attorney General of the Federation, Chief Bola Ige, who extradited some drug bureaus overseas for trial when he requested for a made for the extradition. In fact, Mr. Bola Ige was so blunt that he never even bothered to take those drug suspects to court for any restitution for extradition proceedings. His position was that if their hands were clean, they should go over to those countries, answer to the charges against them, and then they will come back home if their hands are clean and they are not indicted or convicted. And they so extradited them to those countries. Ever since then, I don't remember Nigeria extraditing any of the citizens to some of these countries to go and answer to charges. Remember the case of Buhari for more than almost 20 years. Nigeria was unable to establish Buhari abroad to go and answer to drug charges. They called me, the court were playing yo-yo on the case, the NDLA were playing yo-yo on the case, the National Assembly also put a wedge in the extradition of the Buhari abroad. And then the Attorney General also never had the balls to carry out an extradition proceeding in court. So, this is the dilemma.
Okay, interesting, Tony Kolawole. Thank you very much. Let us start bringing Efe Wanogo, security expert. Efe Wanogo, thanks for your time. Kofi Bartels here, and Mercy Egbopo as well. How is it that such a suspended police officer who has been removed as the head of the intelligence response team, going by the words of the spokesman for the NDLEA, is still able to work with the team from the intelligence response unit? Or yes.
Well, it's a situation that is simply inexplicable in a manner of speaking, because I think this is where this whole controversy and suspicion is stemming from. Was it suspended just to please the public? Was it just a function of feeling the pulse of what the United States of America and then the Nigerian civil society were going to say? Was it the case of dousing the outrage as to the allegations against Abba Kyari? Was that why he was suspended? And was it just on the pages of newspapers and then he was still being utilized for official duty? Or was there a break in the chain of command with regards to the IROT and how they carry their functions? So what this speaks to basically is a gap as far as the police is concerned. They are not very thorough in carrying out their day-to-day operations, and the approach and outlook that they have for the entire Nigerian population. Such a situation like we have on our hands that somebody has been suspended and is still seen to be functioning. Shamelessly, it has been admitted, it is there in the public domain. And the other thing you have to ask and juxtapose this with is, why does he remain suspended for this long? How long does it take the Police Service Commission to close out the investigation on this person? When you say police across the world are being rated and Nigeria is having very negative ratings, it is such issues that come up and become a blight on the image of the Nigerian law and order environment. So the police authorities must do the best they can so that justice will be seen to be done. In fact, like I was discussing with a colleague and a friend, somebody who is in the security services, particularly the police, must be held to much more higher standards than the ordinary Nigerian. So much so that when he decides to carry out his normal day-to-day functions, nobody is going to question his motive, because they know that such a person has already been held to higher standards. There's a Latin maxim that states, ipso custodes, quis custodes, ipsos custodes. Who will guard the guards themselves, in a manner of speaking. And that's where we found ourselves now. So the police must be unimpeachable. And sadly, that's not the situation we have. And I think these things do happen because heads do not roll. To put it simply, there is an acute lack of consequence management in the Nigerian landscape as far as the public sector is concerned. But as far as the security sector is concerned, particularly, there is a lack of consequence management. People are not held responsible. For instance, who does the IRT report to? Where is the gap coming from? Has there been any resignations? Has anybody been called to order? I'm aware that the security agencies are agencies where you give instructions and you take instructions. And everybody has its own purview and area of responsibility. So if somebody has dropped the ball, what is the IG, the Inspector General of Police, doing? What is the Chairman of the Police Service Commission doing? And then what is the Commander-in-Chief doing? Because it all rubs off negatively on the Nigerian image.
Well, talking about, what the police is actually doing, it's also been put out there that there was actually an in-house police investigation. It was discreet, and that's how, the police was able to, to arrest, coupled with the issues that the NDLEA had actually raised. Well, however, I'd like to also bring in Dennis Amakari once again back to the conversation. Dennis, I hope we still have you on the line.
How would you?
All right, so let's look at what this would mean for some of the cases that, Abba Kyari has handled. For instance, very popular one in our mind is that of Evans. And so with all of this issue, arrest, and then the fact that these agencies are saying that they have facts, they can actually establish it that he has, a connection with international drug trafficking or cabal or cartel, however you want to put it. What does this mean with some of these cases? And Evans has actually accused them of extortion.
Oh, yes. Of course, you find out that the cases that has even brought him to the limelight, where he was termed the super cop in Nigeria, still remains. It does not mean that Evans did not actually kidnap people. Maybe there might be some problems in processes or the way he used in trying to prosecute his investigation. Excuse me. So I know that is not going to be effective. The major case is that Evans is a kidnapper and they will take it from there. But for his own indictment of what he did with drug dealers, that's another case altogether.
How about the case of extortion that he's been accused of by Evans, who we say, it's a kidnapper?
If he can prove that, or if his lawyers can prove that in court, that during the investigation, Abba Kyari extorted money from him, then no problem. The court will decide what they want to do, either restitution to the person, but that is not going to cancel the case.
All right, Mr. Makri, this probe into Abba Kyari, and I'm going to bring us back to the issue of foot dragging. In the loop we have a Nigeria Police Force launching an investigation. In the loop we have a Police Service Commission which is meant to receive the report and forward it to the Attorney General and Minister of Justice Abubakar Malami SAN, who is also in the loop. And this panel submits its report to the PSC. PSC says the report has been sent to the Attorney General. Then later they get a statement out saying that the report is not deep enough and orders that the panel should go and do another investigation and bring another report in 2 weeks. But we have evidence, reports, investigations conducted by the Federal Bureau of Investigation in the United States of America. We have testimony from a suspect who is undergoing trial. We have evidence put out of communication between this police officer and a suspect undergoing trial for fraud. And we're still hovering around this whole issue of whether a report is going to be accepted or not. And then this has cropped up as well. I still want us to get to the bottom of who is protecting Abba Kyari and why. And then is it that the police now condones crime and accepts crime and is okay and comfortable with its operatives being involved in crime, as long as Nigerians don't say anything about it?
Well, the thing is that, this investigation with Abba Kyari has been going through the bends. And yes, the ordinary person could say that, yes, he's being covered or somebody is protecting or watching his back, and then they are refusing. Because remember, this guy was a high-flying officer. And being a high-flying officer, of course, there are some very senior officers that maybe, will be very, very familiar and body with him. So I know that it could come to a situation where some people might go to say, oh, let's look at this. He has done 5 good things and then here we have only 2 bad things. So why are you trying to kill him? Don't throw the baby with the baby water out of the place. But that is not law. Of course, the lawyer there will tell you that what he has done is against the law and he's going to answer for it. The United States FBI, will carry out their investigations. They are not sharing it with the Nigerian police. They will carry out their investigations. What they've just done is to request for him to be brought to them. And when he comes, they will interrogate him and then take him to court. And when he gets to court, everybody will hear what actually happened. So they are not going to share their report with us. What we need to do here is to keep our house together, because trying to cover him or trying to foot drag and pull it to a longer time is not going to help us. Number one, it is going to hit our image.
All right. I have a quick question for you, and I think I could turn the color too, as a lawyer would also chip in on this. There is something called the Code of Conduct for Public Officers, or public servants in the Nigerian constitution, apart from the codes that govern the individual agencies, ministries, and departments. Abba Kyari has been seen before now to be frolicking with different sorts of people, having direct communication as a police officer, for instance, or as a public servant in Nigeria. There's certain things that he shouldn't do. Is this code of conduct for public officers, as enshrined in the Nigerian Constitution 1999 as amended, is it enforced? I mean, from your time as director of the DSS, was it something that your operatives and yourself were aware of and schooled on and knowledgeable about, to be careful not to flout?
Let me tell you, the other security expert there was saying it to you, that when it comes, I think FA, that when it comes to code of conduct, the ones for security officers is higher than the one that is out on the public, because there are very critical areas that security officers tread in, and you cannot, compromise yourself. There are even situations where you don't accept gifts. I remember when I was in the service, if you bring me a Christmas hamper or you bring me a gift somehow, I am going to declare it. That gift will be declared to the office. And the office will now decide to say, okay, you can keep it or we confiscate it. There are many implications for gifts. Number one, it could, make the officer to be compromised. Number two, in our own kind of service in the DSS, you never know. Some of these gifts might have hidden cameras or hidden voice instruments that could record people. So these are the kinds of things that the code does not play around with. So for you to be frolicking with people, going to parties with them, taking pictures, he knows. Because even when he went to the IGP's, I think was it his daughter or son's wedding, he took many pictures and put them on Facebook. And then when people started shouting, he started deleting them. But that tells you a lot of things. How can you, an officer that is under suspension, being invited to a party by the IGP? That tells you everything.
Tony Kolo, very quickly, your thoughts on this serial flouting of the Code of Conduct for public officers by public officers in Nigeria?
Hello?
Yes, Tony Kolo, yes, go on, we can hear.
I'm hearing you are talking about Code of Conduct.
Yes, for public officers.
Public officers.
Yes.
Look, with due respect to Mr. Amakere, those of us who are lawyers, who interact with some of the security agencies, the DSS, the police, the customs, the immigration, and what have you, will tell you that this code of conduct thing is hardly enforced within any of our security forces. Simply because the corruption that is taking place in most of the security forces go right from the very bottom to the top. I give you an example. Evan is just making noise now that he was cheated, he was wrong, because money was extorted from them when Abba was investigating. I do know the lawyer to Evans. A lot of things were taken from Evans' house. Money, wristwatches, expensive telephones, generators, and what have you, that were carted away without an order from the court of competent jurisdiction. And when the lawyer to Evans applied to court, that the court has not made a seizure order, has not made an order for the confiscation of this one's property. You, the court, compare this Abba area and state to return all these materials. You will not believe it. Mr. Abba started threatening the lawyer. He started calling him on phone to threaten him that he would deal with it. And in addition to that, I won't mention where the telephone also came from. The telephone call came from the most highest, one of the highest levels of the Nigerian police force, that the lawyers will prep the application for the return of all the children of stolen from Mr. Evans' house here in Lagos and other places. Furthermore, the implication of that is that the officers who were asking the lawyer to drop it, who were not part of the investigation, knew a lot about what was taking from Mr. Evans' house. Furthermore, I have said this repeatedly, in some other countries of the world, the kind of integrity test is usually done for security men, just like Mr. Amakere earlier said. A policeman could have to go and do a search.
Okay.
And the police would have dropped some very attractive things like money, like jewelry and all that.
All right.
By the time the policeman goes in there and comes back, I didn't declare that it's any of those things that were intentionally dropped in there too.
Mr. Kolowale, I'm afraid we have to leave it at that. A very interesting history you've given to us. I wish you had more time, but it's clear from what you've said and from what our other guests have said, Dennis Amakri, and of course, if you want to go that a lot needs to be done to restore the integrity of the security apparatus in this country. It's gone to the gutters as we speak. if officers are able to do these things and get away with it. How many Abba carries do we have? The other members of the IRT, how many of them do we have? The police are saying that they already had a report on them. What were they waiting for? If the NDLA had not come out to blow the whistle and to say this is going on, well, we have known it was going on. More questions than answers. Thank you very much for your time, Dennis Amakri, former Director of the Department of State Services. Thank you very much for your time, Tunde Kolawole, legal practitioner, and thank you very much for your time, if you want to go, security expert. Thank you, gentlemen. All right, Mercy, it's another day, another drama, isn't it?
Definitely, but we move straight to taking a break. When we return, we'll be flipping the coin to the other side, looking at the killing of policemen across the entire country. We'll be joined by former Commissioner of Police, Lawrence Alobi. Please stay with us.